Hi, Rose Bowl. It was so great to talk to a lot of you at the Coffee with Coaches this past Saturday. During that session, I talked about my English Channel swim. It was a swim that I completed in 2016, and it was so great to share that story with so many of you guys. It's one of my proudest accomplishments, and really defined who I am as a swimmer, and it also really informs my coaching style. So it was great to share it with you. Coach Jeff asked if I would share it in a video so that we could share it with the broader team. And I'm happy to do so. So for those of you who were listening on Saturday, I started kind of in the middle, and I'll do the same thing. It'll make sense when I circle back to the why. I just want to give a little bit of background though on the swim itself for those of you who aren't familiar with the English Channel. So it's a 21-mile stretch of ocean in between England and France. It is about 58 to 62 degrees. It's a little warmer when you get toward France, but it's pretty cold. So I made the decision to do the swim. I put down a really big deposit to a pilot in England, and then I had 2.5 years to train. It books out so far in advance, and very few people actually get to do the swim because the window where the weather and the tides work for swim attempts is really narrow. So I did not have a lot of open water experience. I grew up in Minnesota. We don't have oceans there, and so we certainly have lakes, but I had not done any ocean swimming at all. But I made some smart choices as far as races and 10Ks that I signed up for. I was living in Boston at the time, and so I had a lot of great training in the Atlantic, and it was a super cold area where I was training. So I was getting great training for the English Channel. One of my favorite sets that I did every Monday, I did 16 400s, and I would do number 1 IM, number 2 would be 200 drill, 200 distance per stroke, number 3 like 85%, number 4 like 90%, and then I would go through that 4 times, and I would descend number 3 and 4 throughout the set. So the last thing that I did that was super important to getting ready for the swim was do a training camp in Mallorca, which is in Spain. It was a camp that was designed exclusively for English Channel swimmers, and so you get in and you do 6-hour swims in this beautiful, beautiful water in Mallorca. It was freezing cold, but it was gorgeous, and it really helped prepare me for what that cold water training would look like, and I just learned so much. So when the summer of 2016 finally came, after all of this training, you get a 2-week window, and they book 4 people in those 2-week windows, and you don't know exactly when you're going to get to swim. So it's all based on the weather, on the tides, and you're just sitting we rented an apartment for a month, and you're just sitting in this apartment like waiting for the captain to text you saying that it was time for your swim. It's actually pretty stressful. I think the hardest part is that you've done all this training. It's been almost 3 years of training building up to a swim that might not even happen, right? Like, you could have done everything right, and if you just get really unlucky with the weather, you just don't get to go. But it is mentally the hardest part about that. And I remembered, I shared this story last Saturday. There was a sectionals where I was getting ready for my 1,000, and the pool had just installed these new blocks, and they have the sensor, and they flashed at when the starter started the race, and in my lane, the block just started like constantly flashing the whole time, like the starter was not pressing the button. So they had to reseat everything. They could not fix this block, and so they had to reseat everything. It was in lane 10. They had to reseat everything for a 9-lane program the rest of the day. And it was right before my 1,000, and I just like panicked. Like I could not handle the change. I could not handle that the race did not go exactly to plan. And fortunately, I had to unlearn that getting ready for the English Channel, because it's the complete opposite. You have to be in a complete opposite mindset getting ready for a swim like this, because again, you do all of this preparation and you might not even get to swim. So I was most proud of kind of having gone through that growth, where I was in England, I was getting ready, and I was at peace. Like, I really wasn't nervous. The work had been done, and I was confident. And I knew that if the swim did not happen, it was going to be because of something beyond my control, and I kind of made my peace with that. So we're in England, and I finally get a text after probably about 5-6 days of waiting. So I was about halfway through my window, like just enough through my window where I was starting to get a little bit nervous. And I get this text saying it's probably going to be Monday. And then Monday morning comes and it's not. I get a text saying, nope, it's not going to be today. Probably tomorrow. Tuesday comes. Get a text again in the morning. Nope, not going to go today. So I had gotten these texts. I had like psyched myself up for the swim. We had literally on the Tuesday day even like packed up the car to go to the swim before I got the text from him that says it's off. I remember that I'm pretty sure the Thursday. I get the text Thursday morning. He said we're going to start 11 o'clock. Swim start tonight. Be at the harbor by 9:30 p.m. The boat takes you from the harbor and takes you outside of the harbor, and then you have to swim about 50 yards into the beach. They shine this massive light on you because it was dark to make sure that you've cleared the beach, and then they blare this horn, and then that's your cue that you can get in and start to swim. So I'm swimming, and I remembered many coaches saying, Kelly, you need to find a kayaker, and you need to get a chance to do some swimming at night so that you can prepare for that. And as I'm starting to swim at night, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I actually probably really should have done that. Many people can get super nauseous when you're swimming at night. It can be really disorienting to just kind of be surrounded by nothing. You can't see beneath you, you can't see anything above you. But I actually found it to be incredibly peaceful. There were tons of little jellyfish in the water, and they kind of almost like twinkled in the water. It was incredibly beautiful, and I actually didn't find it to be too disorienting. You also have the light from the boat. They're like blasting this flood lamp like onto you so that they can obviously see you, and everybody on the boat is checking for your stroke count and making sure that when you stop for your feeds that you aren't hypothermic. Like they're checking in with you constantly. So the swim had started at about 11 o'clock at night, and so I knew that at sunrise I would be about 6 hours through the swim, which was hopefully going to be over halfway. So the sunrise happens, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. For those of you who aren't familiar with Dover, they have these historic world-renowned white cliffs. They're the White Cliffs of Dover. And they're these massive cliffs on the coast of England. And from where I was at sunrise, I could see this tiny strip of the White Cliffs, and it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Right as the sun was like really coming up and it was starting to get bright, I felt a snap in my shoulder, and it really hurt, and I could no longer pull with my right arm. My arm was kind of like out in front of me. I was in my catch right when I felt this pain, and then I couldn't really pull my arm past my chest for the rest of the swim. It was unfortunately right when my family started shooting video was right after this had happened. So when you actually watch the only videos that they took for the entire swim, I look like I learned how to swim yesterday. So I've ended up taking these little half strokes with my right arm the rest of this swim, and it significantly slowed me down. We got to a point where the captain said, you are going to need to swim as hard as you can for the next couple of hours, otherwise you are going to miss your tide. And so the tides in England, they move parallel to the shore. It's not like the tides that we have at our beaches here where the tide pulls the water in and sends the water out. You want to be set up here so that when the tide turns, it kind of pulls you right into the coast. And if you're not set up for that, it's just going to pull you and you're never going to make it. So it's really important to line up for your tide. And so the pilot was just preparing me for, you're going to be swimming for 2 hours as hard as you can in place, not going anywhere, but you have to do it, otherwise you're going to miss your tide, and then your swim's done. So I think that that's just an incredible metaphor for so many different things in life, to have to swim as hard as you possibly can to go nowhere. It was definitely mentally the hardest part, but I pushed through that and ultimately made it. So I can think of a couple of really key lessons that I learned from that I think are super relevant to what you guys are going through right now. You know, you're training for something that might not even happen, and I think that that's something that's probably a little bit painful, a little bit raw for some of you guys, having trained for meets that are no longer happening. But I think that the main takeaway and the real sense of calm that I felt at the beginning of the swim was that I was so deeply proud of the preparation. And to me, that was its own accomplishment. So when I was waiting for that swim to start, I was already so proud of myself. And that made whatever was going to happen okay. The preparation in and of itself was an accomplishment. I think that you can also take away from this swim the importance of confidence and just sheer willpower. I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to make it. I knew that if I did not make it, it was going to be because of a situation beyond my control, right? Like a change in the weather, so something like that. And that level of confidence, I think, is so, so important and has helped me with so many other accomplishments in my life. So I think that that's something you can take away from that. And then the last thing that I would say, I want to circle back to the why. I signed up to swim the channel because I had a really, really frustrating end to my college swimming career. And I got super sick at the end of my sophomore year, at the end of my sophomore season, and ultimately did not compete on the conference team. For people who don't go on to NCAA's conference is your tapered meet. And so again, I trained all season for a meet that I didn't even get to participate at. The Thursday night, which would have been the 800 free relay, was my absolute favorite relay. I signed up. I put the deposit down. I was not with the team. I did not travel, but that is the night that I paid for the swim. So for those of you, I remember so distinctly feeling as an age group swimmer, as a college swimmer, that I had so little time, that everything had to be perfect. There was no margin for error. I had to make sure that meets were great, that practices were excellent, because I didn't have time. And I just remember feeling like there was no time. And I want to tell all of you guys who are feeling that way, especially because of COVID, but because of also the situation you're all in your lives, you have time. You have tons of time. I am planning my next swims. I'm excited about my next swims. I don't feel like I've ever retired from swimming, even though my times in the pool might suggest otherwise. So I just want to reassure you guys that you have time and there is no rush. So I'm very happy to share my story with all of you guys. I hope that it's helpful. I hope that you're hanging in there. I hope you're staying healthy and happy and safe. And feel free to reach out with any questions. I would love to share more information about my swim, about my college career, how I want to be there for you guys and be as helpful as possible as we all try to get through this really challenging time. So thank you so much.